Let's take a look at the questions that accompany the poem Uncoiling by Pat Mora. The poem is describing a storm, and the events in the poem describe the energy that is released by the storm. So the correct answer is A. Lines such as, "She spews gusts and thunder," and "When her tumbleweed skirts starts its spin," and "Howling leaves off trees, flesh off bones," are the clues that provide the evidence for this answer. In order to answer this question, I am going to go back to line 3 of the poem and read the stanza that contains the word snares. That stanza reads, "With thorns she scratches on my window, tosses her hair dark with rain, snares lightning, hollow hawks, butterfly swarms in the tangles." My background knowledge might already tell me that a snare is used to trap something, so B is the best answer. However, if I don't have that background knowledge, I can use the context clues. I know that things get caught when they are tangled, so B is the best answer. In order to answer question 3, I go back to lines 8 and 9 in the poem and read the entire stanza, which states, "She sighs, clouds, head thrown back, eyes closed, roars and rivers leap, boulders retreat like crabs into themselves." I know that this poem is about a storm and the powerful energy release of that storm, so B makes the most sense. When crabs are afraid, they hide in their shells. This storm is so powerful that even boulders retreat. Answer choices A and C are too general. The poem is not about erosion or the differences between rocks and living things. The clues in the stanza, such as "She sighs clouds, head thrown back, eyes closed, roars and rivers leaps," suggest that the storm is still raging and stirring things up. So D doesn't make sense because it talks about something that happens at the storm's completion. Question 4 is one of compare and contrast. They want to know how the speaker is different from the pale women described in the poem. In order to answer this question, I am first going to go back to the part of the poem that talks about the pale women. I find this reference in lines 11 and 12, where it tells me that they scurry to lock doors, windows. I am then going to reread the poem in order to determine how the speaker is different from those pale women. After rereading, I know that A is incorrect because the women do not venture outside, but instead lock themselves indoors. There is no evidence in the poem that the speaker is saddened by the storm or that the pale women admire it. They actually fear it. So I know B is incorrect. I can infer that the pale women fear the storm from the evidence in the poem that states they scurry to lock doors, windows. So C might be the correct answer. I still need to examine option D. There is no evidence in the poem that first part of this option is correct. The speaker is not ignoring the storm. So option C, after all, is the best answer. In order to answer question 6, I want to read all of the lines that discuss the pale women and their actions. So I am going to start at line 10 and read to line 20. For this test, notice how often you need to go back to the text to read and reread sections to determine the answers. In this case, lines 10 through 20. These lines read, "She spews gusts and thunder, spooks pale women who scurry to lock doors, windows, when her tumbleweed skirt starts its spin. They sing lace lullabies so their children won't hear her uncoiling through her lips. Howling leaves off trees, flesh off bones. until she becomes sound. Lines 14 through 17 state that the pale women sing to their children so they won't hear her uncoiling through her lips, howling leaves off trees, flesh off bones. This evidence gives me the clues I need to know that the women are trying to distract the children by singing lullabies. So my answer is D. In order to answer this question, I need to reread the entire poem. As you can see, I am doing a lot of rereading of this poem. This is necessary in order to really understand the poem and answer the questions correctly. By the time I am done answering the questions for this segment, I will probably have reread the poem at least 5 times. I know that the climax of a poem is the turning point. After rereading the poem, I know that events of the storm, such as the storm scratching the window, sighing clouds, and spewing gusts and thunder, all lead up to the turning point of the poem when the storm is finished and becomes sound or calm. There is a definite change at this point in the poem, and that is how I know that is the climax. Letter D is the correct answer. For question 8, when I go back and reread the poem, I do not find any evidence in the poem that would prove the speaker is worried about the damage the storm will cause, or that she is afraid it will intensify or get stronger. So A and D are not the correct answers. Although the speaker uses sound words in the poem, the whole poem is not about the sound of the storm. The sound words help us understand her fascination with the storm. Therefore, letter C is the correct answer. Question 9 is about author's technique. In this instance, the question centers around the personification used by the author. Nowhere in the poem does the poet explain the cause of lightning strikes, discuss nature's feelings, or warn people to take cover during severe weather. However, by giving her subjects human characteristics, the poet gives the reader the opportunity to see a severe storm in a new way, thus offering a new perspective on a familiar occurrence. That means the correct answer is A.